This momentous day has state and health officials finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Distribution of the vaccine is going to hospitals across the state. By the end of next week, the supply of the vaccine will have quadrupled.
Absolutely great moment for science, for the healthcare community. It's a great moment for the state of Connecticut.
A sigh of relief, applause, and a glimmer of hope as 32,100 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine arrive. Shipments are en route to 12 hospitals and their affiliates across the state. Keith Grant was one of the first to receive the monumental injection. Some
mild soreness at the site of injection, which is expected with every shot or any shot. So absolutely no side effect. I feel great.
15 healthcare professionals at Hartford Hospital were among those to be vaccinated. The governor expects 1 million healthcare professionals, first responders, and high-risk residents to receive 2 doses of the vaccine by the end of March.
I'm a football fan, and I think I can see the end zone. But I also know that there's an awful lot of blocking and tackling we got to do between here and the final 30 yards.
Deliveries of the vaccine could be the shot in the arm the local economy has been looking for, as restaurant owners in need of more financial relief rallied in front of the governor's home. He believes that in time, consumer confidence will return.
Not a silver bullet. It's not going to happen in the next 2 weeks, but I'd like to think come this spring, where you have a substantial number of people who've been vaccinated, 1 million people vaccinated twice. Come March, I think people are going to build confidence. We'll get our economy moving again.
The governor says he is looking into more relief for local businesses, and in the meantime is reminding people to stay cautious in the coming months. The general public may begin to receive vaccinations by April or May.
I hope we get to a point when we have way more vaccine than we actually need. But at this point in time, the ones that we have is allocated in the appropriate group.
Distribution of the vaccine continues. Yale New Haven Hospital says that they were receiving their shipment of the vaccine Tuesday morning. Now, state officials are not concerned of the snowstorm coming, saying it won't disrupt their distribution plans. In Hartford, Dave Puglisi, Fox 61 News.